Hey everybody, I've been asked recently by a few people why I like open top tanks so much, and so I'm going to shoot a video and try to explain it. I've already tried a few times and I've tried to do it in a fairly succinct manner, and it is not working out for me, so pardon me while I wax philosophic, and maybe we'll be able to sort of explain why I like my open top tanks so much. And most of it has to do with what I think about as borders and being on the border between one environment and the other. I actually mentioned something about this the other day when I was out on my kayak. I have basically spent my life on the border between land and water. And I've actually spent my life in the sort of boundary zone or that border zone in more ways than one. If you think about the Chesapeake Bay, the Baltimore's Inner Harbor, and all of the rivers that feed into those bodies of water, those are all brackish bodies. They're tidal, and depending on where I am, I'm at varying degrees of salinity. I'm somewhere between a freshwater river and the Atlantic Ocean, and I've spent my whole life doing that. I've been out, can't count how many times I've been fishing and looked down and seen crabs in the water, because if you go far enough down, you're in the ocean. And in a more immediate sense, if you think about simply being at the lake or at the river when I'm out in my kayak or when I'm out fishing, I'm not deep down underwater. I'm not way up on shore. I'm right at the edge of the water. I'm in the water. I'm out of the water. The plants that are in the water are growing up and out of it. Some of the plants that are on the land are growing down and into the water. Some of the animals move back and forth between the land and the water. It's always this sort of interaction between the two environments. I know I am a terrestrial creature. I'm a creature of the land. But I'm also very comfortable being on the water. I'm not a great swimmer, but I'm certainly comfortable being in and around the water in reasonable amounts. And I've just spent so much of my time there that's where that feels natural to me. It feels normal. When I look at one of my tanks that I have set up like this, that's a lovely tank. It's beautiful and everything. But if you look at it, it's completely isolated from my environment. They have their environment, I have my environment, and it's a box of water that sits on a shelf and it has living animals in it. You could almost think about it as very sophisticated artwork. Or, some kind of odd living television or something like that. It doesn't feel like it's part of my environment, nor do I feel like I'm part of theirs. But when I look at this tank, I can stand here while I'm chatting and have my arm over the tank with my elbow in the water. I can touch these plants that my fish also eat. I've loved to do all the crayfish and the frogs and stuff, but they always get out because, again, they're these creatures that move back and forth between environments. And so I always wind up losing those, and I've kind of given up on trying to keep them. But when I've got tanks like this, it just feels so much more natural to me. It's so much more enjoyable to be able to walk up and just look down into the water the same way I could walk up and look into the water on a nice afternoon as I walk over to the stream or the pond. This has been so naturalized. I don't know if you can see it or not. I guess you can kind of see it. There's a spider web that's actually going between the light and the piece of woodwork, and that's fine too. Any bugs that fly around here will get caught by them. I've seen bugs land on the surface of the water, and the fish have come up and snatched them up. And so it's as close as I can get to just having that natural environment. I obviously have to keep the fish in some sort of artificial environment. It is still a box of water. It is still, an aquarium. But, you can see I've put those pieces of wood across there. That is simply to break up that black line across the back that looks so unnatural. I can't do that all the way around. For obvious reasons. I'll bump into it, knock it down, or whatever. I have to access the tank to be able to clean it, wipe the glass down, drain the water, so on and so forth. But I can get it somewhere in between. We're never going to be able to have a fully natural environment in our aquarium simply by virtue of the fact that it's an unnatural environment. And so you're going to have plumbing, and, I'm going to have to see pipes sticking in the water and that sort of thing. But I can make it as natural as I possibly can. And I think I come pretty close on some of my tanks. If we take a step back here, this is probably, this is my masterpiece so far of that boundary zone between one environment and the next. Not only do I have the open top tank, footing the waterfall. I have a whole entire waterfall. Now, there's no animals or anything that live up here other than probably some bugs and stuff. But I've got lots of plants, I've got the flowing water, and it's all part of one big living system that I interact with to the point where I brush against, the plants as I walk past them and everything. So it really just does boil down to the naturalness of it and that sort of blending of the two environments, that sort of boundary between simply being, out here as an observer looking into a glass box of water. It's got food sitting on top of it. Or looking at something like that, what looks more natural? That may have a floodlight hanging over it, and I've got flower pots sitting next to it and stuff, but I don't know. I'm going to pick this one as being the one that looks a little more natural if you're going to compare that to, one of those tanks. So that's it, I suppose. Just boils down to the border, boundary, interacting between the two environments and the natural effect you get from it, and that's just what appeals to me. That may not appeal to other people, but that's my personal tastes. And there you go. So that wasn't too hard to get out once I finally had a few tries there. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe. You never know what you're going to get from me. Don't forget, this one here is my waterfall tank. And don't forget, of course, we started with my 125-gallon New World tank. So thanks again. And I'll see you real soon in the next one.